You are the last generation who will ever remember the sound. That hiss and screech of a computer dialing up to the internet. You had summers with no phone and you were online before you were fully grown. 1 foot in the analog world, 1 foot in the digital one. Think about that for a second. You are the human bridge between two entire worlds. Nobody lived that split before you. Nobody will after you. But here's the part no one ever says to you. You were also told, on repeat, your whole childhood, that you could be anything. Work hard, get the grades, get the degree, and the life you wanted would be there waiting. And then, right as you reached out to take it, the floor gave way. So here's a question almost nobody asks out loud. What happens to a whole generation that's promised everything and then meets a world that quietly says, actually no? If you're in your 30s or 40s and you still feel a half step behind a life you were sure you'd have by now, that's what this video is about. And it has nothing to do with you not trying hard enough. If you haven't already guessed it from the title of this video, I am referring to Generation Y, aka the Millennials born between 1981 and 1996. Let me see if this resonates with you. You open your laptop to send one email. An hour later, you've reorganized your calendar, researched a £12 purchase like it's a mortgage, and still not sent the email. You see someone you went to school with post a house, a promotion, a second baby, and you're happy for them, but your stomach still drops. You lie awake doing the maths, where you thought you'd be by now, where you actually are, and that quiet ache in the gap between the two. And underneath all of it, a hum that never quite switches off. I should be further along than this. Even on the good days, even when, by any fair measure, you are doing absolutely fine. If even one of those was you, stay with me, because none of it is a flaw in you. So here's the real question. You were the generation handed the biggest promise in modern history. Why does it so often feel like you're sprinting just to stay in the same place? Short version, you were raised on a promise and then handed a world that couldn't keep it. And ever since, your mind has been quietly trying to close that gap. The only tool it has to try with is the one thing that wears you out. It thinks. Round and round. Hunting for the version of you that finally measures up. Every generation gets shaped by whatever was new or whatever broke when they were young. Your grandparents were shaped by scarcity, by making do. Your parents, by getting on with it and not making a fuss. You were shaped by expansion, by the feeling that the door was about to swing wide open, that it only went up from here. And I want to be clear, that belief wasn't naive. For a while, it genuinely looked true. And then came the exact year you were meant to launch. Here's something that changed how I think about this entirely. There's an economist called Lisa Khan who studied people who left education straight into a recession. Not their feelings about it, their actual pay tracked for years. And what she found is quietly brutal. Graduating into a downturn doesn't just cost you a rough first year, it follows you. For every point unemployment rose the year you started out, wages stayed measurably lower, not for months, for a decade or more. So a whole cohort of you began the race with a weight tied on, through no fault of your own. Sit with that, because it reframes everything. You didn't imagine the gap. You inherited it. And nobody ever handed you a way to make sense of that. So you did what a thoughtful, responsible person does with a problem no one explains. You turned it inward. You quietly decided the gap must be about you. And here's what makes right now feel so heavy. Just as you might finally exhale, the squeeze arrives from both sides at once. Pew Research put an actual number on it. Among people in their 40s, more than half are helping care for an aging parent while still raising or supporting a child. At the same time. There's a word for it, sandwiched, holding the generation above you and the generation below you, usually while holding down a job as well. That is not you failing to cope. That is a genuinely enormous amount for one human being to carry. So what does a capable, responsible mind actually do with a gap it can't close and a load it can't put down? It runs the problem, again and again and again. There's a name for this exact style of thinking. It's called rumination. And here's the trap inside it. A researcher called Susan Nolan Huxamer spent her whole career on this, and she found something that matters for you tonight. Turning a problem over and over doesn't solve it, it deepens it. The more you replay, the worse you feel. And the worse you feel, the more you replay. Your brain is convinced the reruns are productive, that if it just thinks hard enough about the gap, it'll finally close it. It won't, not like this. But here's the good news hiding in that. If the thinking was going to fix it, it would have by now, which means you're allowed to stop waiting for the perfect thought to arrive. It isn't coming and you don't need it. So knowing that gives you something to do instead. 3 things actually, and the first one sounds almost too simple to matter. Reset 1. The first is the highlight reel rule. When you catch yourself measuring your life against someone else's announcement, name what you're actually looking at. You are not seeing their life. You're seeing the single frame they chose to show you, the promotion, not the panic behind it, the house, not the debt holding it up. You're holding your full, messy, behind-the-scenes reality up against somebody else's trailer. So say it, plainly, when it happens. That's a highlight. I'm comparing my whole ordinary day to their best 10 seconds. It won't make you numb to other people's good news. It just stops you using it as a ruler for your own worth. Reset 2. Name the gap. The second is harder, and it's the one most people want to skip. Name the gap out loud. When that "I should be further along" feeling shows up, don't argue with it and don't sink into it. Label it. This is the gap talking, the distance between what I was promised and what actually happened. It is not a verdict on my worth. And there's real science under this. Putting simple words to a feeling measurably lowers how intense it feels. You're not bottling it up. You're not wallowing in it. You're naming it, and the naming alone loosens its grip. The gap was handed to you. Saying so out loud is how you start to hand it back. Reset 3. Put one thing down. The third is for the days you're carrying everyone. Right now, as I'm describing this, notice where you're holding it. Your shoulders, your jaw, that tight spot in your chest. That's the load, announcing itself. You do not have to carry all of it at once, so pick one thing, one worry, one task, one person's problem that is genuinely not yours to solve today, and put it down, not forever, just for the next hour. You were raised to believe that if you weren't holding everything, the whole thing would collapse. It won't. Setting one thing down isn't dropping the ball. It's the only way anyone carries a heavy load for the long haul. So, no, you're not behind. You're not the one who failed to make good on the promise. You were handed a gap you didn't create, and a load most generations never had to hold, and you've been quietly carrying both while wondering why on earth you're this tired. That isn't a flaw in you, it's a story you were dropped into, and now you can see it. You get to stop blaming yourself for it. And here's what I find genuinely fascinating. The overthinking didn't skip the generations either side of you. It just wears a completely different disguise. The generation before you learned to swallow it and get on with it. The one after you does it out loud, with a phone in their hand and a label for everything. If you want to see how differently the same pattern shows up, watch the Gen X video and the Gen Z one next. You'll recognize your parents in one and maybe your kids in the other. If this felt like something you needed to hear, the next one will too. Subscribe so it finds you. I'll see you there.